Hello and welcome to another Turbopun video. This time I'm going to be doing something a little different. This is in fact the pilot episode of Inside the Gamer's Studio. Today we will be following in the adventures of Turbopun. Did I say that right?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, yes, this is Turbopun. He's with me today. We'll be interviewing him.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
For our first question, tell me a little about your League of Legends experience.
Alright, well I got into League during the first double IP weekend. I was at a buddy's house and he introduced me to the game. And we spammed a bunch of 3v3 games, and eventually we learned about jungling. And I got really jazzed and decided I was going to buy Warwick. And I've been playing ever since.
30 seconds until
Awesome.
minions spawn.
What was the first champion that you considered yourself really good at?
Oh man, I was terrible with him, but I thought I was good with Karthus. Because he was free when we started playing, and I played him a bunch. And I don't know, I just thought he kicked butt. But then my buddy told me that Master Yi was ridiculously OP, so I started playing him, and he'd probably be the first one.
Okay, sweet. And what's your ELO right now?
Currently, it's like 1387 or some such thing. Highest ELO is 1405 right now.
Alright, and what's the biggest challenge of being in that ELO?
Oh, well, I was gonna add that I have 2 ranked teams that I captain.
sorry,
that
yeah,
are
tell me a little about your
1470
ranked
and like
teams.
1420, just to brag.
Oh, wow.
One of them, yeah, they're not bad. One of them I started just 'cause me and my friends always wanted to play together, and we liked, tryharding. And then the other one, I really just liked the name. I called it Superb Ace, and then the tag is like Super Bass, the Nicki Minaj song.
Okay.
And I thought it was really funny. So, but currently I'm playing with a team called Deathmatch, and we're signed up for next week's Go for LOL, and we've been practicing. We'll break into the scene and start doing work.
Awesome. It's your ELO. What's the biggest challenge of being in the 1400 range?
I think the biggest challenge for me is just forcing myself to play, because I'm only about 46 games in, so I haven't even broke the 50 game solo queue mark. And they say, you don't know you're really low till you hit about 100, so
Okay.
looks like I got a lot of work ahead of me, but yeah, no, I think just forcing myself to play, because every now and then you just get teams that throw or have no map control, and I'm sure it happens at every
Yeah.
elo, but I notice it at mine, so.
Okay. What is your favorite position? What position do you play on your teams?
For my teams that I was running with friends, I would play top, because I pretty much only played top, which I liked because top lane's really fun. It's all about countering, and if you get that early advantage, you can really deny and shut down lanes. But I started playing support, and that's what I'm playing with my team now, with Deathmatch, and it's really fun. It's hard because you don't have as much of an influence on the game, but at the same time, you can carry a bot lane by playing support in solo queue or teams.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you approach the support position when you're in games.
Well, for picks and bans, basically, I try to either get Leona or Alistar, because Alistar's really strong right now, and Leona's just really fun. And I think aggressive supports are stronger just because they help with jungle ganks and stuff like that, or roaming mid, like if you have a Kassadin. So I usually try to pick one of those champions, and the reason I pick Janna is because she can stymie an assault from an aggressive support. Like if an Alistar headbutts and she lands a tornado, she can stop him dead in his tracks and he won't get pulverized off. So basically those are like my 2 or 3 favorite picks, but Alistar is usually banned, and sometimes my AD won't want to play something aggressive, So we run like a Janna Ashe or a Soraka Ashe, because Soraka's global is really strong.
Okay. And how often do you ward in solo queue games? Like, how many wards do you buy on every back?
At least 2. You should never come back with less than 2. Like, if you're close to boots and you can get 2 wards, do it. If you can't, just don't get boots. And just play smart, play safe. Because without a ward at either like Try and Dragon, or Dragon and then the River Bush near mid, depending on which side you're on, you can just get ganked like crazy. You can get camped hard, especially if they see that you only ward, you know, one place or something. And if you're playing against an aggressive support, you also want to have a ward for lane bush, so that your carry can farm. So usually like 3 is kind of the golden rule, but no less than 2.
Okay. And what's your opinion on the pink wards?
Oh man, when I played top lane, I used to love getting a pink ward, and then just letting my lane enemy push, and just getting them ganked over and over by denying them vision. But with bot lane, I think around 10 minutes, you want to have a pink ward at Dragon, and you want to deny Dragon vision in case you can get a kill. Like if you kill bottom lane or even mid or their jungle from an invade, having a pink there is really good because they can't see it, they can't try and steal it. Same with like Baron, but eventually you just get oracles and pink wards are obsolete.
Okay. At what point do you generally get an oracle elixir?
See, that's something that like I was writing a guide a while ago about support and stuff like that, and I never really know how to put it, but it's kind of one of those things where you feel like you just know. Usually there's a tower down, and you know, there's more or less map control depending on which tower and whose tower and things like that. So you really just got to figure it out, and you got to be able to afford it. And another thing is sometimes your jungler gets one, in which case he can just buy more wards, and it's never bad to have 2, but if you buy one, you don't pop it because your jungler has one and you're grouped up. Then when he dies, or if he dies, you're always ready, and that's a nice thing to have.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of 2 oracles on a team, not at the same time, but you know, having 2 ready. Anyway, what's the biggest disadvantage of playing support in solo queue?
Oh man, mid, top, and jungle feed. That's about as simple as it gets. Like, if your mid lane is giving kills to Karthus or something, or you know, like getting soloed over and over, or if your jungler isn't ganking a lot of the times, if you're playing like a Leona, an Alistar, sometimes even a Janna, because she can be aggressive. It's just a different kind of aggression. But yeah, I'd say junglers are probably the most make or break for solo queue when you're playing support, because if they fail ganks and they feed your lane, if they feed the carry that you're fighting against, it's going to be really tough in lane, and it's going to be really tough late game.
Okay. And what's your opinion on, like, say, duo queuing with a jungler or an AD carry? Who would you prefer to duo queue with as a support?
You know, I've duo queued with a couple AD carries, like friends of mine and stuff like that. And it's always great because you can just say like, do this, do that, don't go in, and they can say the same to you. Or they can say, you know, ulti's up without having to stop and type or anything like that. So the communication is really nice for bot lane. But when you have a jungler there too, like duo queuing with a jungler just so that they can camp bottom, like if you time wards out or you get a pink, things like that, you can get your lane a real big advantage, and again that advantage pushes to late game because AD carries scale so well with items. So I'd say those 2 are my favorite. Mid is also alright, but some mids just can't really get to bot lane, and especially if there's a lot of ward cover, they're not gonna like waste their time going around Try or stuff like that.
Okay. Then, let's see. How do you respond when someone starts beating your support in the lane? Or, sorry, beating your carry in the lane?
Well, first I take a deep breath because it's solo queue. And afterwards I just either I tell them that we need to do this or that, or you know, whatever's going on. Like if I'm playing an aggressive support and we're playing against a blitz, it's as simple as going in on the blitz after he fails a pull, and you know, obviously not getting pulled would be the biggest thing. So no, I definitely would say you just gotta give them guidance, because a lot of times people get pigeonholed, like they want to jungle or play top because they focus on bruiser champions, and then their fourth pick, so they have to pick AD. And they don't necessarily know the laning or understand the matchup, so you just gotta help them out.
Okay. And how do you feel when you have someone who's like obviously a really bad AD carry player?
You know, I won't say I rage all that much in League, but man, it's really aggravating when, like, there's a lot of stupid things you can do in bottom lane, especially when there's a jungler and, like, I ping, like yellow ping, and they don't back up. Like, that's probably the most irritating thing I can think of, other than just straight feeding, because then they just get caught, and it's like, we had every reason to not get caught here, and you got caught. And of course, like, half the time, if you're playing Soraka or Janna, they'll be like, heal me, shield me, and it's like, I already did, and you know, there's like 10 seconds or more of cooldown still, so you're just gonna have to not die next time. You know, like, use your brain.
Okay. And what's your reaction if the enemy jungler is eating all your wards with an oracle and ganking you non-stop?
I mean, the easiest thing to do is just keep a ward in the bot lane river bush and just let the enemy push you. Just tell your AD carry only last hit, not to try and even harass with like an Ash volley or anything, because that'll hit minions too, and that'll push the lane. And even tanking minions is something that I kind of do, or not tanking minions, like during when there's two lines of minions, but just tanking minions right in front of the turret.
Okay.
Because depending, like, almost any support you play is going to be able to tank a couple minion shots and freeze the lane there.
Okay. Now, what makes you rage the most in solo queue?
Jeez. I don't even know. I usually duo with 1 or 2 or 3 buddies of mine, so it's usually pretty relaxed, even if we're losing. But, like, one time, I have a buddy who's high elo, and he was smurfing with me. And, you know, he was carrying, as he should, and I was doing really well, too. I was, like, 4-0 or something. It was great. And our team was just, like, not listening, not doing what we said. And, like, going for dragon at stupid times when we'd, like, ping not to and type in chat. So really just non-compliance from teams, like, especially teammates who are doing poorly. Like, if you're doing well in a solo queue game, it's kind of like a hierarchy, the way I look at it. Like, you have more authority if you're doing well, and you should listen to the people who are doing well, because there's going to be a reason that they're doing well, and it might just be that they played against a bad laner, or, you know, a bad enemy, or whatever. But chances are they know what they're talking about.
And so, as a support player, does it become annoying, like, when people won't listen to you, then? Like, say, if you're...
Dear God, yes.
And, like, how do you feel when people aren't, like, pursuing objectives? You know, like, as a support, when I'm playing, like, say, Taric or something, and nobody's grouping up, how do you feel about that?
Well, I guess it kind of depends on the scenario, but as long as the AD carry is farming, and if I'm playing, like, a capable roamer, like a Taric, Alistar, Leona, then, you know, if people are refusing to group or won't do this or won't do that, I'll just try and make plays on my own. You know, warding the jungle is something you can always do, and if your mid lane it has good reaction time and you can ping it, you know, you can gank them at red or something like that. And like, if the mid lane doesn't come, you can't do anything. So you just have to realize what's going on.
Okay. Now, what is the absolute worst experience you've ever had playing support?
I honestly don't know. I think one time, actually, I guess what I would call the worst time was I was playing against a support Olaf, and I think it was a Caitlyn for AD carry. And it was really annoying because their zone control was huge, because axes would just fly out of the bush, and you know, even if you ward it, like, it's a skill shot. There's a chance it's gonna hit something or somebody. And then you have Kate's long range and her poke. So yeah, that lane was really irritating.
And what's the best experience you've ever had as a support player?
Probably just getting a carry to like 7-0 and being like 008 or 9 or 10 myself is just really fun, especially as Soraka, who can get assists from across the map. But yeah, definitely just knowing that your AD carry is going to be extremely relevant late game is a really good feeling.
And what do you do in situations where you're feeding?
I just play it safe. Like, if you get killed in lane, it's because you made a mistake in most cases. You didn't have a ward up, or you know, you're too overextended, or you got headbutt pulled, you didn't land a tornado, you healed the wrong person, whatever the case is. The thing about support, though, is sometimes you have to make those sacrifices where if your carry gets caught and you can, you know, trade them out for you, like just a body swap, if you will, it's better to do that just because then your carry can still sit in lane and farm if they have enough health, and that's what it's all about.
And what do you do when the carry is raging at you?
Ignore.
Let's see. What is the one piece of advice you would give to an aspiring support player?
Stick to it, because when I started, like, I bought Sona and I was real excited, and my buddy plays AD carry and we would lane together and I would just do terrible. I couldn't land her poke on her Q, and I thought I was a tank still because I was used to playing top lane. So I would run in and be like, haha, I'm Sona, and then they would be like, yeah, you are, and I would just get trounced. So I'd say stick with it.
What do you believe is the strongest support champion right now?
Alistar. Alistar is incredibly strong as support. He's got sustain, he's got aggression, he's got great crowd control, which stays relevant all game, and he's tanky as heck for like 7 seconds. He's an extremely strong champion. He's a strong jungler too, because his ganks are so awesome. And again, like the heal in bot lane too. It's like you have a passive lane plus an aggressive lane in one.
And how about the weakest support? Which one really needs some love now?
I mean, depends what we're talking about as far as supports go, because, like, you know, there's people who play support Galio like Chowster does, and there's people who play support Karma, and Karma needs help, but she's getting it. But other than that, I'd say Lulu could probably use a little love. She's not bad by any means, but she's just, I guess maybe it's just that I don't know how to fit her in or what her best strengths and weaknesses are, but I feel like she's just lacking something.
Okay. And what's the craziest thing you've ever done as a support?
Crazy kind of a loaded word, I guess, but I don't know. I've like charged into a group as Leona, like 1v5 with my team, you know, not behind me like they should be, after pinging, of course, and all that stuff, and it's just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. You get really scared. But I'd say I played support Orianna a pretty decent amount, and that's really fun. That's kind of, you know, a little crazy, a little out there, but since the rework, or not the rework, I guess just the changes, she can just combo a lot better, and since her damage got nerfed a little, like, it doesn't matter because she's playing support.
And what champion that has never been played as a support at high levels today do you think would have a shot at being a very good support if somebody picked it up?
You know, I actually recently heard that someone played, and I think it was in a tournament, like a qualifier or something, but support
Really?
Rammus, which is interesting. Yeah, it's strange, but it makes sense because he shuts down carries. Like, as long as they don't have an Ashe in their lane to just kite him all day,
Yeah.
you know, Rammus really, he does work to 80 carries, so it makes some sense. And then the double GP5 build is
Yeah, that's what he does
perfectly
anyway.
viable, so
That's
yeah.
interesting. Okay, let's talk about Riot for a little while. What's your opinion on Riot?
Man, for playing the game for over 2 years now, Riot is good. They're progressive, they listen to their community, they make changes, they try. The biggest thing is they try. They might fall short, or they might go too far, but they're always trying, and that's pretty awesome to see from a gamer perspective and a company. But I guess the biggest thing is they're slow, and like there was the whole thing about Magma Chamber and how that never came to fruition, and how they leaked so much about it, and kind of made some promises that they didn't come through on. But it wasn't like Scumbag Riot didn't give us what we needed or anything like that. It was just, it just didn't, you know, it didn't happen. So I can't really blame them for that.
Where do you think Riot's going today? What do you think their plan is for the long term?
They want to make League of Legends the new StarCraft. They want to make League of Legends the esport to watch. That's the way I look at it, because they, again, like I said, they try. They're trying to push tournaments, they're trying to get commentators from the community, and from even the pro player base to commentate games. And they're making changes in the game that they should have made a long time ago, like tooltips on items for gold per 5, stuff like that. Aura items, like how far the aura items extend, things like that, that just really needed to be done a while ago. Didn't really, I guess needed to is the wrong word. Should have been. And I guess maybe they're just starting to figure out how to program things like that, but I don't know.
Okay. What do you think Riot really needs to do, like, now, that they should have done a long time ago?
I think the biggest thing would be bringing back irrelevant champions, and the stealth rework is coming out soon, so that's kind of in that avenue. But like champions like Annie, it seems like there's no reason to pick her over any other mage in most cases, if not all cases, and it's just like champions shouldn't be outclassed like that. I feel like every champion should be viable. It would be so much more fun to play the game if, you know, every mage could play mid, and, you know, every bruiser could play top, or every mage could play top, or whatever. And sure, there's picks and counter picks and things like that, but I think that's the biggest thing.
How about League of Legends versus Dota? Which is better, and why?
Honest opinion, Dota's more difficult, hands down. Things happen in the blink of an eye, and damage comes quickly. Map awareness is so much more, like, required. And again, my opinion. But I think League of Legends is more fun to watch because of that, because there's a little bit more of a suspense factor, and there's a little bit less of a, oh, he just got blown up, you know, unless a team's pretty far ahead. So I think League of Legends is easily more casual, but I think it's more fun to watch.
Okay. All right. And what's your opinion on the whole even Twitch thing? Do you like even Twitch or do you not like even Twitch?
You know, from like what I've been playing and how I've been playing, and the fact that they've been pretty much out of the game for so long, I don't have much of an opinion, but I'm excited for the changes. I've got a PvE account, and I've been looking at stuff and getting information, playing around, and I think Twitch is going to be a pretty great jungler. I think Evelynn is too, and I think they did some really interesting things with the permanent stealth on Evelynn. So I think it's going to be really fun to watch the way that they come into the game.
And how do you feel about this whole Eve perma invisible? I know some Dota players are probably saying, oh, it's just like Ricky now. Do you think they were necessarily copying Dota?
If there's one thing I can say about the MOBA genre, it said a lot of things, copy a lot of things. So I wouldn't say no. I would say it's probably a straight takeaway. But of course Riot wants to put their own little bells and whistles on it. But I've been playing a game called Smite, and it's like a direct rip of League of Legends, almost to the letter. And you know, League is a pretty big spin-off of Dota, and Heroes of Newerth is basically the original Dota 2. So I can't really blame them.
All right. And we've got a little bit more video here. Is there anything you'd like to talk about?
Sure. Let me just think for a moment. I think the jungle rework was really great. I think the new masteries were also really great. I think that was kind of one of those things that was done basically on time by Riot. It was something that didn't really need to be changed, but they changed it before people kind of realized it was incomplete or lacking. And I think that was really cool that Riot did that, you know, kind of on a timely manner, whereas some of the luxuries that they're adding now, like tooltips and things like that, like I was talking about before, aren't as necessary, but they're still, you know, it's great to watch the game grow, but it's also great to have a grown-up game.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about the jungle thing. You've been here for 2 years. Do you remember when jungling, like, started to become popular?
Well, when I started, like I said, I guess before the interview I said it was, I picked up Warwick early on, and I learned about jungling. And, you know, I had read from, I think it was Leaguecraft, that Warwick was like the most capable jungler if you don't have runes and masteries. And I started doing it, and I think I was basically, I didn't know enough, and I wasn't prepared enough, because at that time, if you were a low-level summoner, you had a challenge with most, if not all, junglers, Warwick included. And I think I actually lost the question in my head when I was
basically, how has jungle progressed since you started playing, and why was the new jungle necessary?
Jungling has progressed from something that, well, I guess I don't know what was going on with like level 30 summoners at the time or anything like that, because I was pretty blind to the fact that this game had, you know, an end game, if you will, because I was brand new. So, but as I continued playing, the moment when like someone said, you know, the mage should get blue buff, and then someone said, no, well, the mage should get like the second blue buff in the game. Things like that I had never thought about. It was great to see that like people in I guess the high elo community were rubbing off on people in the low elo community or the low level community, and eventually you know, everyone's kind of trying to win. And as far as jungling kind of goes into that, there's junglers that were really strong, like Shaco, who could, you know, clear camps and then gank lanes. And I guess it was just really, junglers were really strong when I started playing, because you never prepared, you never warded when you were lower level and stuff like that. You just didn't know better. And I think the jungle changes needed to happen, just because you shouldn't have, you know, 6 or 8 or 10 champions that can jungle. You should have almost every champion capable of jungling. And now junglers can jungle with boots and pots, as opposed to starting cloth 5. And that's just a change that makes the game faster paced. More action from an earlier point is more fun to view.
That's interesting, yeah, the whole idea of more fun to view. Now, let's talk about that for a second. To what extent do you think Riot is trying to define the meta into something that's maybe fun to view?
Well, there's places you could go with that that I think aren't necessarily true, like nerfs to sustain supports and just passive supports in general. It seems like Riot's kind of pushing towards more aggressive supports, or choosing a passive support to be completely passive, to be farm your lane, sit back, watch. And I think that's kind of boring, so they don't want that, so they're pushing for aggressive supports because it's going to make the games more enjoyable for the players and for the viewers, but I don't think that was their impetus on that. I think it was just kind of an added perk. But I think Riot's definitely, they release spectator mode and stuff like that, and they know that live streams are huge. People like to watch League of Legends, so they're definitely going to make changes and decisions that are going to help that, but I don't think that's ever going to be the focus. I think gameplay is always going to be the #1 most important thing to Riot.
Alright, and let's see. I think we're about to the end of the game. Is there anything else you'd like to add in about playing a support?
I guess I kind of could have touched on this when you asked me what I would tell new support players, but support really just comes down to timing, positioning, and picks. Because like I was saying earlier, Janna is a great disengage. Her Q can peel off a Leona who's pulling you, or a Blitzcrank pull to less extent, or an Alistar headbutt in mid-action. So just knowing things like that, and knowing Soraka or Sona are going to be good against a poke lane because the heal is going to counter the poke. Things like that are just really good to know, really solid to know. But
so this whole idea of like sustain versus poke versus burst.
Yeah.
What counters what?
Honestly, I think it's a little more in depth than that, but basically poke is going to whittle down aggressive supports so that they can't, they're scared to be aggressive. Aggressive supports are going to burst down healers, and basically, they go in, they might get healed, but then they go in again as soon as their cooldowns are up, and Soraka has like a 20-second cooldown on her heal and stuff like that, whereas Alistar's headbutt and pulverizer are on a shorter cooldown. So she might get the heal off midway through, but aggression basically is going to beat your sustain, and sustain is going to outlast poke. At least in my experience and from what I've seen. But like I said, I think it's a little more gray than that. I think it's not so simple, because every lane and any combination can do well against something that it shouldn't, depending on obviously the player skill and the jungler and the mid lane, and all those things kind of just come into it. Like Soraka Graves isn't an aggressive lane, but Soraka Graves can do work because you have infinite mana on Graves.
Well, I think that's about all we've got today. Thank you very much for the interview, and I hope all my watchers enjoyed it.